am back in cold Canada where we're having freezing rain right now after being in LA this morning where the weather was beautiful and perfect. But it looks like I will be returning to Los Angeles March 27th for the next PCW Ultra event. I'll be covering it again for the Hannibal TV. They had a sold-out crowd of over 1,000 people last night. Huge show. I'll get into the results later, but there's a lot of wrestling news today to get into. The big news of the day is about Tessa Blanchard, who is expected to win the Impact Wrestling, their version of the heavyweight championship from Sami Callihan. It's come out today that apparently she has made some racist remarks and is generally disliked. Now, I have to say, when I first met her back when she was still going out with Ricochet, she was really nice. She actually helped hook me up with that shoot interview I did with her father, Tully Blanchard, and I met her around that time. She was at the Hall of Fame in Iowa that weekend because her grandfather, Joe Blanchard, was receiving an award, and she was really nice. But later on, my personal interactions with her, she had flight issues. She was booked on a Great North Wrestling event. She took a deposit for the event. She couldn't make the event. That's fine. Then, actually, last year when I was at a PCW Ultra event, I asked her for an interview, and she said she had to check something. She'll be right back, and she literally left when she could have just told me, no, she's not interested. And then this year, she told me she wasn't interested flat out. So I don't hold anything against her personally, but she was a bit of a bitch in those situations. However, Allison Kay, who I believe was Sienna in Impact Wrestling, I think she's in NWA now. I interviewed her at that WrestleCon where the same one where Tessa Blanchard wouldn't do an interview with me. Sienna said in response to a Twitter that Tessa Blanchard put out saying, hey, women, try supporting one another. Cool things will happen. And Allison Kay responded, remember when you spat in a black woman's face and called her the N-word in Japan? Was that you supporting women? Blanchard denies the allegations. Other female wrestlers have come out about it, confirming that they did witness this. And the wrestler, I guess, who she called the N-word was La Rosa Negra, Black Rose, who I actually know from my days in Puerto Rico. And she was actually at the Cauliflower Alley reunion last year, too. Chelsea Green, who works for WWE, who I've also interviewed on this channel, tweeted to Blanchard, you're consistently put down, bullied, and belittled countless female co-workers, including me. Is that supporting females? And another female, Shanna, wrote in support of Black Rose that Blanchard did more nasty stuff in Japan that she'll never forget. Practice what you preach, sweetheart. And others have gone out. And I'm not going to get into all of them. There's lots of female wrestlers coming out about Tessa Blanchard bullying them behind the scenes. But I mean, Tessa Blanchard's being pushed to the moon in Impact, which has basically become a humor company and a just pure goofy company. Their ratings they haven't released in a long time. The last time they released viewership numbers, they were still on the Pursuit channel, and it was believed that they were under 10,000 viewers. They haven't released any Access TV numbers. They haven't released any pay-per-view buy numbers. so they're not doing too well. So I believe that La Rosa Negra is telling the truth, that she was called that word by Blanchard because of the support, and also knowing her, she never seemed to be a liar. But at the same time, Tessa could have just been saying that out of anger and not actually meant it. Lots of comments on here. Coaching says Tessa might be a heel in real life like Tully. I agree with that. Mike S says I'm professional. Isban Arroyo says any names for the WWE Hall of Fame this year? Yes, which we've covered, but the NWO is going in. X-Pac's going in for a second time before Sid goes in once, before Kamala goes in. Not taking away anything from X-Pac, but I'll get into the other news because there's a lot of it. Football is over, so Smackdown had no competition. They were up 4% this week to a 0.7 rating. John Morrison returned on the show. Speaking of Morrison, he used to wrestle for PCW Ultra, and that could have played into why it was up in viewership. I personally think John Morrison is an excellent wrestler. NBC has picked up a new comedy series called Young Rock. It's an 11-episode order about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's early life. And Dwayne Johnson will appear in all 11 episodes of the show. Speaking of Dwayne Johnson, Rocky Johnson, Dwayne's father, who I've done an interview with on this channel, it's up free if you want to search it up. I really enjoyed that interview. Might do a part 2 with him in March. But he put out a new book with Scott Teal. I actually have a copy of it. Haven't finished reading it yet, but I'm going to. But apparently they've had a breakup. The reasons haven't come out yet, and the book has been pulled from the shelves. Manuel Estrade, who's a WWE wrestler, proposed to Charlotte Flair, who is now 33, and they're going to get married. Flair has been married to another wrestler in the past, and she's actually on her third marriage. This will be her third marriage. So it seems Charlotte's similar to her father. A lot of marriages, 3 marriages by the age of 33 is a lot, in my opinion. Matt Hardy's expected to leave WWE in March. He's doing videos again with the broken gimmick. I was never personally a fan of that gimmick. And they're saying that there's rumors he's going to go to AEW and lead the Dark Order with that broken gimmick. So that doesn't sound too exciting to me. As we already reported, CM Punk wrote on Twitter about The Miz, go suck a blood money covered dick in Saudi Arabia, you fucking dork. Then Punk deleted the tweet. According to Dave Meltzer, neither WWE or Fox have made any statements or given any reaction to the tweet. Mercedes Martinez, who is 39, signed a WWE developmental contract, which is rare because they usually don't sign too many women to development deals over the age of 30. This is just going through the whole Lars Sullivan situation again. There's more new news after this, but they did a breakdown of it in the Wrestling Observer because Lars Sullivan name was actually one of the most searched names on Google for a day when it came out that he's a former gay porn star. WWE has put out a new toy of him. It's still up there. He's been out of action since April, where he underwent knee reconstructive surgery. He was about to get a huge push last year, including beating John Cena at WrestleMania, according to Dave Meltzer, but then he disappeared because he no-showed a couple TV tapings due to suffering a panic attack. It then came out that he made racist and anti-gay remarks, and he was fined $100,000 by the WWE. There's nothing known right now about his status with the company other than he's still out with the knee surgery. There's still more news, but a lot of comments on here. Wonder if Vince watched the porn. I guarantee you Vince watched the porn. I guarantee you Pat Patterson watched the porn too. In a Ring of Honor news, Bandito has re-signed with the company. Kelly Klein was in the news. She was the one bitching and complaining about Ring of Honor recently because I guess she was having a relationship with Joey Mercury while going out with BJ Whitmer, who apparently is an AEW backstage agent and used to be Kelly Klein's boyfriend, but they've split up. I don't know much about either of them. Eric Angle, Kurt Angle's brother, admitted to buying 721 grams of liquid steroids for the purpose of distribution and will be sentenced in April. Luke Harper attended a Corpus Christi Ice Rays hockey game on Friday with AEW star Sammy Guevara. Dave Meltzer believes Luke Harper is AEW bound and he's going to go under the name Brody Lee, his old name in that company. Conan has stated on his podcast that MLW and AAA Lucha Libre will be doing a joint show in March in Tijuana that's going to be an MLW television taping. More Ring of Honor news. They're doing a Super Card of Honor in Lakeland, Florida, April 4th, going head-to-head with the NXT TakeOver WrestleMania weekend show in Tampa. Jeff Cobb has not signed a new deal with Ring of Honor, although he was offered one, but he turned it down. Some people want him to go to AEW right now, but he wants to continue working for New Japan. He likes working for Ring of Honor, but if he signs a contract, it might be a situation where he'd have to take a Ring of Honor show over a New Japan US show. And according to Dave Meltzer, that could be the issue of why he's not re-signing, because he likes wrestling for New Japan. Krilling876 tipped me $2 and says, how was the weather in California? We froze in New York. It was perfect. I swam outdoors for an hour on Thursday. So that was the most enjoyable time that I actually got to be in the sun. Then I sat in an outdoor hot tub for probably another 45 minutes. But other than that, I was working my ass off for the 2.5 days I was there. But thanks for asking. Thanks for the tip. Josh is asking, are we going to return to Pembroke, Ontario with Great North Wrestling this year? Don't know. We had a great crowd in nearby Petawawa, Ontario last year. Good chance we might return to that area this year. Not sure. The only for sure dates for Great North Wrestling in 2020 so far are February 29th at Smith Falls and August the 8th in Ottawa for our 13th anniversary event. In other news, Ring of Honor in the past was not allowing wrestlers to take that many independent dates if they were earning more than $40,000 with the company. They weren't allowed to necessarily work indie dates in other cities that Ring of Honor puts on shows in, but apparently they're slacking on that a little bit now, and their wrestlers are going to be allowed to wrestle indie dates. So we'll see if that means PCO is going to be back in Great North Wrestling in 2020. I would like to personally have him on the 13th anniversary event if there's no Ring of Honor conflict, because he's been a big part. He was on the very first Great North Wrestling show. He defeated AJ Styles and Christian on the very first Great North Wrestling show. So I would really like to have PCO on the 13th anniversary show if possible. And it sounds like Ring of Honor might be slacking on that, according to the Wrestling Observer. Here is the full results from the PCW show last night in LA. Chris Masters defeated Killer Cross. I interviewed both of those guys. The Masters interview is already up on the Hannibal TV. Artemis Spencer defeated TJ Perkins. For the PCW Ultra Women's Championship, Ruby Reyes defeated Sumi Sakai to win the women's title. The Blood Hunter defeated WWE, ECW, and WCW legend Sabu in a crazy match that involved a lot of breaking. For the PCW Ultra Light Heavyweight title, Douglas James defeated Jake Atlas and Dom Kubrick to win the title. There is heavy rumors that Jake Atlas is signed with WWE. I did get to interview him last night. That's going to be up there very soon. Alex Hammerstone won the PCW Ultra Heavyweight Championship, defeating Mil Mortes, also known as Ricky Banderas. I interviewed both of those guys. It's now up on the Hannibal TV already. The Defy Tag Team Champions and PCW Ultra Tag Team Champions, War Beast, Fatu, and Joseph Samel, who I interviewed last night as well, defeated Outlaw Inc., Eddie Kingston, and Homicide last night in a steel cage match that featured Fatu doing a moonsault from the top of the cage to finish off that card. And I have to say that it was a spectacular show. I watched the show, packed house, sold out crowd, very high quality wrestling. And someone says Rob Van Dam for the Hall of Fame. He probably will be in the Hall of Fame. Rob Van Dam also has wrestled numerous times for PCW. Warrior Steve says, what's the latest on Luke Harper? I just said it. We'll go back a little bit on this video and you'll see. In MMA news, the annual Rising New Year's Eve Japan show drew about 30,000 fans. In amateur wrestling news, Brock Lesnar is going to be the honorary coach of the University of Minnesota wrestling team against Wisconsin, or I guess it was last night. Brock Lesnar was the coach, the honorary coach last night for the University of Minnesota wrestling team to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the University of Minnesota's NCAA championship win. And this is crazy to think how popular amateur wrestling is right now. The NCAA wrestling championships this year are going to take place at Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, which holds 66,655 for football. So to have an amateur wrestling tournament in a football stadium is amazing, considering amateur wrestling was so unpopular not too long ago that they wanted to actually take it out of the Olympics. So personally, that was my favorite sport to compete in. I really liked rugby, but I think amateur wrestling was up there as well. I had my most success in amateur wrestling, so I love to see that it's doing so well. But I wonder how that's going to affect the competitors, because in amateur wrestling, you don't necessarily have guys that are used to competing in front of massive crowds like that. And if they get 66,000, that's going to give some of those guys the butterflies that might not necessarily have the same butterflies wrestling in front of 10,000. So that'll be interesting. I'll answer a couple questions. Danny Purdue, do I think wrestling will ever go back to the territory system? Some territories could possibly pop up, but I don't think all areas are going to have territories. No. But it looks like wrestling is really popular in California right now. I've heard Terry Funk say that he thinks Texas could be run like a territory if someone would run it properly. Is WCW La Parca that died? No, I don't think that La Parca died. There was a La Parca that was injured doing a dive to the outside of the ring and might suffer some permanent damage from that. And that's all I know about that. Jason Wells said Zack Ryder is underrated. That guy was one of the biggest assholes to me when I was in Deep South Wrestling. I hate him. I'd actually like to punch him out. And we'll end it at that. I'm going to actually go hit my punching bag right now. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for all the comments.